Hi everyone, welcome to the Collab Lab week 2 office hour for the batch TCL-60. And in office hours, you can ask questions related to anything. It could be about code review, or it could be about product building, it could be about software engineering, or anything else where we can help as mentors. So in the beginning, we are going to have a little bit of learning modules regarding code reviews and why they are essential for any team or any project. So please, Param, can you please enable screen sharing for me?
Yes. Just a moment. Yeah, give it a try.
Yeah. Awesome. So code review. What is code review and how it affects any project culture or any side project you are working with along with your friends or while working in a big tech company? So what's a code review? How does the review cycle works? What separates a good code review from a great code review? And how can somebody help you with your code review? So let's get into it. So let's just start with a code review. So a lot of time when people heard about code review, they think it's a feedback cycle to catch bug or pair programming to catch bug or find something about it. But no, it's not about that. Code review is about knowledge transfers. It's about increasing quality. It's about increasing awareness and sharing your culture with your teammates. And it's a time where you can ask question, get feedback, and you can learn from that feedback and follow up if you want. Then we have a review cycle. So the usual review cycle looks like this. You code something, you open a pull request and wait for feedback from your senior engineers and make any changes if required, and then again ask for code review and merge it if there's not a problem. But there is a subtle thing that differentiate a pro engineer or a pro mentee from a amateur one. So amateur one will write up some code and open a code review as soon as it ticks the box. But a pro mentee or who is willing to learn a lot in a very short span of time, what he's gonna do is he's gonna code something up, open a pull request, and in that pull request, he gonna explain what changes he has made. He's gonna put some screenshots or videos to show what features is being implemented and how the code works now, and is the feature is handling all of the edge cases. And this does not only decreases the length of time required to get your code merged since you open a PR, but it also builds a trust in you as a mentee or a junior engineer with your senior engineer and team. And in future, they could be, be very uh, resilient about your code. They could have much more confidence about your code, and it could help you in moving the ladder up very quickly. So yeah, what's not a code review? You as a senior engineer don't have to give review on styling changes and all about that. As a senior engineer or mentor, you are supposed to give feedback or reviews that actually adds value to the project itself. And you as a senior engineer, you have to test it out in your local environment or whatever CI/CD pipeline you have built, and try to appreciate your mentee or junior engineer and give some explanation how they can improve the code quality and the project itself, and also give them ample time to make changes if required. Now, running the code locally, yes, it gives you a lot of confidence. And so also code reviews can be seen as a benchmark when you're trying to select your team uh, for joining a new company. So it works like that. So you should be having an SLA, or a good engineering teams have an SLA, service level agreement, a fancy word, to get the code merged within like 48 hours after opening the PR. And if you found somewhere that the team takes maybe 5 days or 6 days to get your code merged, then it could be a red flag for you, as it can hinder your growth as a developer, where you are not going to learn a lot of things because the team is just very slow. So yeah, these were like some of my insights. And moving on to next slide. So how can a mentee or a junior engineer reduce the burden on their senior engineers or mentors? Is by adding a good PR description, um, and by adding screenshots, videos, and explaining how the diffs changes the features, or how they are handling the edge cases. Now, looking into one of the screenshots of how we can navigate code in GitHub while someone has opened the PR, so we can see that there is a navigation bar where we can see how many files have been affected by this PR, and how many lines of code has been deleted or been added. Then we can have like check marks. Okay, if this code PR is filling all of the boxes that we're supposed, and then we have a check mark for us as a senior engineer to do if we have gone through all of the files, or all of the changes. So yeah, that's was it about code review from my side. It would be great like if you can share your experiences, the mentors and mentees both who are present. Yes, and there is some additional resources one can go through if they want. And yeah, Param, would you like to add something?
No, nothing to this. Maybe when we are sharing experience, then I'll add something.
Got it. Okay, so let's just move to the second part for this particular office hour of asking of having Q&A with our mentees. So yeah, mentees or collabs, you are open. We are open for Q&A. Like it could be anything, whatever you want.
Yeah, I wonder how, the thing I struggle with is providing constructive feedback without, coming across as critical or negative. So can you recommend ways how I can, effectively review someone without sounding negative?
So Param, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, of course. Because I am usually the one who got critiqued by my fellow co-workers, and I didn't know how to take it at first, until I realized that in formal circumstances it is actually okay to uh, to sound criticizing. Whenever you have a conflict like this, it's good to have uh, a third opinion, because that can help you resolve the conflict without having to come off uh, as rude. And there's a this also depends a lot on who you are working with, because many times it's the language barrier that causes us to be misheard. I mean, if we were working, if we were all working with people whose first language was English and our first language was also English, it would not have been a problem. So a lot of the struggle comes because of the linguistics. To deal with that, talk to people who speak that language, get comfortable with it, learn about the slang, the terms, so that you're better able to express yourself. So recently, um, whenever people used to say, uh, should we do that? And I disagreed, I just used to say no. And now I realize that in several cultures that may come off as rude. Uh, what I say now is maybe not, or I think not, and that comes off as less rude. Um, Eventually, when you get used to working with the people that you're working with, then it doesn't sound that rude anymore. But if you're working in a freelance environment, and if you're switching organizations, or if you're working for a consulting firm, then it's a big deal for you because the clients will change very often. And in that case, you better be used to sounding a little criticizing, because there's nothing you can do about it. We are not going to be comfortable with seeing new faces every single time. So we have to toughen ourselves up in such situations. Um, can you tell us more about where you work, Shah?
Yeah, I work as a freelancer for a web agency, but mostly related to WordPress development and affiliate blogs.
Mhm.
So it's not related to what we're doing right now. I will be pivoting hopefully in a few months. But
Mhm.
that's something that I noticed, like the art of giving constructive feedback without being negative. Because uh, most of the time, I feel like I can be direct in a comment or while reviewing, and that may be slightly off-putting for the other person. So that's why I answered. I questioned about this. Nothing much about like recently I was working on a contribution in for Mozilla, and there I realized like um, I need to be, because a lot of answers were coming to me from US and Europe, so there was a time lag. So you know when you're speaking with someone consistently, you can give short answers and they might not consider it as rude, but when there's a time lag, uh, it may come off as rude. That's why I question about it.
Mhm. Okay, we're talking foreign clients here, and that reminds me. So first of all, I personally think you are quite an expressive person, Shah. I think being straightforward is actually a good quality in you, and if you work for the right people, they will acknowledge it. And the second thing is, we all have experienced this at certain points in our life when we work for people who don't have expertise in technology. When our clients are non-tech people, there are things we understand that they don't understand, and it can be a little frustrating to help them understand what we are trying to explain. And in that kind of frustration, we need to think about lots of things before taking action. We need to think about the person's feelings in front of you, our intention, we need to make it clear, and also we need to get our message out correctly, because if you fail to express yourself correctly more than 3 times, if you say the same thing the fourth time, you will sound rude. So it's better to say the right thing once than to try not to sound rude and wait for the fourth time. I hope that helps.
Yeah,
Also,
thank you.
like I would like to add something. Whenever you are giving feedback, it would be great. Like, let's say Shah, you are a senior engineer somewhere and you have a mentee who is writing a lot of buggy code. So instead of saying, okay, uh, this code doesn't work or this has a bug in it, you can say in the fashion like, okay, I have gone through the code and it looks awesome, and I think it could improve a little bit if you can make some X amount of changes by introducing this terminology, and that gonna increase our code base and refactoring performance by this amount of percentage. So yeah, you can like twist the sentences little bit and make it sound less rude.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, how many of you are still in university right now?
I am.
Okay.
My son is about to enter university.
Oh, that's nice, Laura. Maybe you can tutor him after. I mean, you already know a lot, so. What about you, Tuba?
I passed out last year.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. So we have two early career folks here. We have Trati and Shagun and Raj, of course. So it's best to hear from them how the experience of transitioning from university to work feels like. Go ahead, Raj.
Okay, so like so far I have only built lots of side projects that doesn't have got any significant amount of user, but currently I am building in FIOP, and which I am to gain some user and solve some of their problems. Apart from that, my experience at my internship were quite good. Like when I was working at DPS Munich, uh, we were directly working with our external partners where they gave us a challenge, a real world challenge that they were trying to solve, and it was not their current priority. So they, as a partner at DPS, gave that particular problem to our team, and we did the market research. We built the MVP, then we iterated on it multiple times, and we delivered a real world product. And hopefully, they would have integrated by right now. And after that, when I was working at the MLH fellowship, there we were a team of 11 people, and yeah, so like we learn about the best code practices that are available, that are happening today, how we build pipelines, how we build a sandbox to test out the environment with code pushes on specific branches, and and yeah, that was it. And yeah, and at both of the places I did 40 plus one-on-ones at each of the places, and like I built a huge network which a lot of people didn't do. And yeah, so and after that, at LFX mentorship program, it was more about one-on-one working with my mentor. So it was just about asking my doubts or getting some feedback on my code and then working on it. And yeah, that was it.
Nice. Nice to hear from you, Raj. For those who don't know, I met Raj for the first time through the MLH fellowship as well. And it's a good place to learn from big projects and big organizations. So feel free to check it out. Prati, would you like to share your experiences?
Yeah, sure. So, okay, first of all, I'm in my third year of college, so I don't have much work experience, but I recently got into an internship. So, there's this Indian startup by the name Experverse, and I don't know if they have gone public yet, but they are about to launch their product. So my first experience was like it was quite overwhelming because I was used to making my own personal projects and like going in a lot of hackathons. So there like the code base and the code quality was like it mattered, but it was not like you have to make it absolutely perfect. But when I joined this startup and I started writing code for them, and we had like a meeting every day to see, like, just check up on the work and review the code and everything. I My first few code reviews were like filled with a lot of suggestions, which I absolutely appreciated. I learned a lot from them. Then I realized the like quality of code that we write is something that mattered the most. uh, Apart from that, it was a good experience because I got to work on a huge code base. Like the amount of, like, they had four applications. One was React, based on React Native. The other was on React, and like they had some other dashboards and LMS and everything like that. So it was pretty overwhelming for me at first, but working with them made me comfortable on like working with huge code bases without getting overwhelmed. So that was something good I learned out of it. And lastly, like, there's nothing that would satisfy you more when you see your something that you write is like be going to be directly used by the people. So that is a whole another level of satisfaction. Yeah, I guess that's about it.
Wow, Kriti. So I know her from university. I have been to the same university where she is studying right now, and really talented person. And as you already heard, she's working on large code bases now. When I initially started working for organizations, I used to hear the fact that you have to work for 40 hours a week, and 40 hours was like a lot. Oh my God, am I going to write code for 40 hours? And that's when you realize that more than 30%, 40% of those 40 hours are consumed in just code review. You're not writing code for every single one of those 40 hours. There are other things like stand-ups, retros, meetings, discussions, pondering breaks, and finally code reviews. And a very small part of the whole thing is writing code. When you work for startups or when you're a fast track freelancer, then you're working in a very fast paced environment, and in those cases we usually skip most of the formalities. But when we are working on a full-fledged product, then we have to go through the formalities to ensure quality. Shagun, would you like to talk about your experience in the final year of university?
No, I'm in second year,
Oh,
actually.
oh, you're in the second year. Okay, okay. Tell us
Yes.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I started my journey as a self-learner only. Though I don't have much people around me for the guidance, so I mostly like to take guidance from by Googling or from YouTube only. But yeah, now I have some good seniors in my college who take care of me and guides me well. And yeah, I started making my own personal projects. Yeah, got stuck many times by a lot of big errors who took, I guess, 5 days or even more. But yeah, every time we learn something new. And then I participated in some hackathons, though not able to grab any position in anyone. But yeah, in hackathons, I learned a lot by working with a team, and I always try to learn something new from every person.
Nice, nice to know, Shakun. Thank you for sharing your experience. Raj has a lot of experience with hackathons and going to meetups, so he can tell you more about, especially I think blockchain. Raj, can you tell me more about it?
Well, yeah, definitely. So, I started learning pretty early, and I learned everything on my own, doing trial and error, and a lot of stuff on my own. Then I got to know about communities. Then I started joining them. Then I participated in a couple of hackathons as a mentee, and eventually I realized, okay, this is the place where I can make some bonds and make some uh, relation with other hackers. And right now, as per my needs, it's better to mentor at these events rather than being a mentee to catalyze the learning journey of others and save time of others, and at the same time learn a lot from them as well, and how the landscape is changing these days. And now coming to blockchain and Web3 and crypto, all about this. So uh, I got started with crypto in 2017, but it was not with tech. It was about trading and market economics. And since I am an engineer, I got eventually interested into blockchains as well. And I want to clarify in the beginning that blockchain is not equal to crypto and crypto is not equal to Web3. There's like a lot of things, a lot more in crypto space than just blockchain. And the blockchain, there are like a lot of different types of blockchain. Your blockchain could be like a public blockchain, it could be distributed blockchain, and it's not very recent research work about blockchain, but it was researched way back in like 70s or 80s. And the large scale organizations such as IBMs and a couple of others were using blockchain from a pretty long time. And everybody thinks, okay, Bitcoin was the very first cryptocurrency that uses blockchain under the hood, but no, there were like multiple projects prior to Bitcoin, and like a lot of them failed for like different kind of reasons. So Ripple, as far as I can remember, Ripple started way before I think Bitcoin, or there was a, a version of Ripple that was started before Bitcoin. And yeah, so it's like very huge. So can we like scope down a little bit what specific we want to talk about blockchain or crypto or Web3?
How did you come up with going deep into blockchain? Like at that point, there were blockchain, AI, for example, and OpenCV, I think, was trending 5 years ago. Why did you go with blockchain?
Also, like in 2017, I was learning about market economics, finance, and then I eventually learned about trading. But the barrier of entry for me at that time was I was not 18, and to do trading and real world stuff, I need to get permission from my parents, and there were like a lot of issues that you have to go through, banking and permission and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so eventually I discovered Bitcoin and their trading platforms, and I found, okay, that the principles are same. In the crypto market, it is just that you have a lot more freedom than the traditional market. So I first started with microdynamics, then trading, and then eventually got into blockchains and Web3 development. And now coming to question, why not OpenCV, or not why AI or other stuff? So prior to 2017, I had tried OpenCV, but I didn't have a powerful enough laptop, or don't have powerful enough hardware. So that's why I skipped OpenCV at that particular time. And almost the same reason for AI. And at that time, I was like very intrigued by first principle thinking, and I was trying to find out how a computer scientist thinks. So how can a person invent something by reading some papers or going through prior experimental analysis and then come up with something and also prove it formally? with theories, with axioms, with statistical analysis, how all of this works together, and how does stats work, how does probability works in medical field, in engineering. So yeah, I learned about some statistics. So for like 6,000 or something, there is like a very high probability that your plane is going to crash for whatever mechanical failure in the parts. And I was like very intrigued. Okay, even if we know that we are going to fail after this amount of time, how we are making system reliable like these, where so many people are traveling and we are having very less accidents. So yeah, I was like just exploring how to think like a computer scientist. And yeah, that's why I got into Web3 and didn't got into AI and OpenCV because of, yeah, lack of proper hardware. Yeah, sure. Like there are a lot of interesting statistics and probability uh, insights that you will come across if you start learning about those in depth, and how the whole things work, how the whole world works. And you will be like like amazed that okay, we know that this particular thing is going to fail mechanically by this probability principle or by this analysis, but we somehow avoid that by having maintenance or by having some uh, fixed cycles of review and or whatever. Yeah.
I agree. There's always so much more to learn. I want to go on a tangent and just learn about automated code review tools. You know, I have no idea how they are integrated into a development process. So could you provide some insights? I think we are using some kind of automated review even right now with Collab Lab.
So what I have experienced so far is like there are like lot of tools in the market that you just integrate in your pipeline that checks for validation or uh, perform test if that code change is not causing any crash or that kind of thing. So I think Param is more experienced in this particular section, where he's using automated code review tools in his projects where he's working full time.
Yeah, well, so there are two things here. We have code review automation and automated code review. So automating different processes of the code review process is a good practice. If we talk about the Collab Lab, what I have noticed so far uh, is the automation of the deployment once the pull request is made marked ready for review, so that you can test it out yourself. That's something that's also built into Vercel. Automated code reviews. If we are talking about full-fledged code reviews, there are plugins in the GitHub marketplace that do analysis of the code. They can be specific to a language framework or pretty generic, and they do a background analysis of the code to give you some feedback on how good the code is and what things need to be fixed. If we have defined our own standards with respect to the project, then we can have something like enforcing the code style and linting and styling, things like that, naming conventions for variables, and TypeScript enforcing, if you have heard of it. So that's something. One of the things that fascinates me a lot, if we talk specifically about the Collab Lab, is there are a few people managing it from the topmost administration, and they have automated the whole process in a manner that even if there are 70 batches, 70 versions of the same project from the base commit get created, and all the issues are also created in an automated manner. The markdown file for your project orientation, I think, also creates pairs comprising the four of you in an automated fashion, inserts that into the markdown file, and it does all of it pretty much error free. So that's probably one of the most fascinating aspects of automation if we talk specifically about the Collab Lab. About other tools, we have, depending on the size of the organization that you're working for, you can have lots and lots of automation to facilitate every little process, or little to no automation and just a few people to take care of everything. The organization that I am working for right now has more than 10 layers of automation for every single testing, and this is the first time I am experiencing something like this. So I would definitely like to share that with you. And I don't know if you are willing to take a flight, but if you can afford it and if you are willing to, feel free to drop into Bengaluru someday. It is quickly growing to become a new tech hub in the eastern side of the world, and we have lots of meetups and events on blockchain here. And if even if you spend just 1 week here, you'll get to learn a lot and connect with lots of people. It's a good place to be in. That's where I and Raj are residing right now. So definitely consider that, Shah. Are you based in Dubai, and are you staying in Dubai right now, or somewhere
Yeah,
else in UAE?
and I'll be going back to Pakistan for Eid in a
Okay,
few days.
and then you'll come back to Dubai, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, there was a company that I was in conversation with, which is based in Dubai and which is operating on automating freight trucks in Northern Africa. The name of the company is Cameo. There are other companies named Cameo as well, but this one in particular uses the French word cameo, which is used to refer to the freight trucks. And the guy, let me find his name for you quickly. You might be interested in talking to him. Just a moment, let me see. Yeah, his name is Mustafa. So Mustafa, he and a very small team of people are working on the project, mostly using Angular as the front end, and Node as the back end. So I can hook you up if you want, and they are based in Dubai, so that's one plus point for you.
Yeah, sure. I'll have a look. Can you share the domain, because I couldn't understand? Cameo.
Yeah, it's it's Cameo. I'll share the domain, and a lot of the text here is in uh, Arabic or Arabic derivatives, North African languages. So I tried reading it, but I was not able to understand everything. Still, I'll share the link with you. You can have a look at it, and yeah, I can help you connect.
No, I have a follow-up question
Mhm.
related to this. That does this fall in the domain of web development or engineering or DevOps?
Are you talking about the automation that I talked about, or this organization that I
Yeah,
mentioned?
automation and the whole process of after submitting the code.
Okay. So that falls entirely in the box of DevOps. However, the border is not uh, very sharp. Many of the times there are responsibilities and roles that overlap between DevOps and development, and you can't be one without the other. So DevOps
I
essentially
feel it
means,
would be different in every company.
yep, it is. In most mid-level and upper-level companies, MNCs and mid-level companies, it eventually ends up being the same. But for very small companies and startups and companies with small teams or small funds, usually have their own different processes. and they might not incorporate too many aspects of DevOps in them, because DevOps is essentially developer operations, developing for the developer, developing tools that make the life of the developer easier. And if an organization can afford the DevOps, that means they're already self-sufficient on the developers, and that can only happen for mid-level and upper-level companies. So that's probably why you won't see that much in smaller companies. And if you're working as a freelancer or for a small company, a startup, you will feel a lot of weight on your shoulders if you have to handle the DevOps side of things, because then you will have uh, the sole responsibility of ensuring that everything goes right in an organization that's also at a critical stage. And there's not sharing of concerns. They really can't afford a second DevOps team. But I think that's the kind of environment where most of our DevOps professionals today come from. So it's a challenging domain, but if you are a developer, then you already have an upper hand.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, we are close to the end of the meeting. I have some things to say to finish up the office hours. But before that, Raj, do you have something to talk about?
Nothing particular, but we as a software engineer have like lot of unfair advantage over people who just got directly into SRE or DevOps. And the reason for that, we know how to build large scale system, we know how to program, and we know the architecture behind it. We know how to deal with abstraction, different layer of abstraction. And for people who directly got into DevOps or SRE, uh, they don't have these kind of uh, knowledge base for a lot of time. They know how to automate a stuff, they know how to integrate different pieces of things, but yeah, but every big tech company have a specialized squad of people who are software engineer but doing the overlooking the DevOps team. So if I can remember correctly, Amazon has a team called Suicide Squad, and they they call that particular team whenever there is like massive outrage for in their system. So so I can't remember exactly, but there was outrage in some company where one of their DevOps guy or SRE guy messed up with the DNS system, and their whole company went down for like couple of hours. And then this suicide squad or the specialized squad of software engineers who were looking over the pipeline came to the rescue.
I remember something happening with Amazon in New York where their system ran down. Even the entrance to the building was locked. So a special squad had to come to overhaul the system and open the gates for everyone to come in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could happen. Like, yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of a famous dialogue. Too much technology is bad for us. I and Raj don't have very good experiences of hearing that dialogue, but in small scale applications, I have seen that it usually applies. So there was a water facility being built in the villages, and you know the authentication was electronic, and few days later there was no electricity in the village, so no one was able to take water. So now we know which kind of situations we don't want to put too much DevOps into. In small startups, if we invest a lot into DevOps, we might not even have the MVP furnished, which is why in that kind of situations, we should actually take the shorter path, and shorter and faster and quicker path to take risk. Maybe not write perfect code, write manageable code, write good enough code that you can fix later and get the product going. That and being able to fix that later, being able to recall what you have written and what the functionality of the code is also a skill in its own. And I hope you all get a chance to experience that. My experience has been great working for 3 startups and finally moving into a big company. I have seen how different it is, and hopefully someday you all will have the opportunity to do that as well.
Also, it's more about the trade-off you are making right now with your objective for like how much pipeline or how much workflow you want to automate versus the cost analysis you have to bear, or yeah, you have to bear. So you have to like put some like 50% of of the cost into software engineers, and then 30% into DevOps, and then 20% into something else, maybe marketing or somewhere. So it's all comes down to your trade-offs, objectives, and yeah, what's your aim, and the timeline which you are currently based on. So if you are like big tech company, you have like enormous amount of money with you, you can experiment whatever you want. So it reminds me of a story where like some hackers from I think Russia or maybe Korea hacked into South Korea's or maybe North Korea's uh, electricity grid, and they shut it down. But and the same hacker tried to attack some city in India, but they were not able to do so. And the reason for that was India didn't have that particular reason. In India didn't have automated stuff for electricity grid, and yeah, so it essentially comes to your team, your trade-off you are making right now, and automating everything is not your option depending upon your situation. For example, like a lot of cities in India are trying to build underground pipelines for gas and electricity and internet. While it seems good for internet and electricity, it doesn't seem very relevant for gas pipelines, as we don't have enough cyber securities engineers working or handling those government offices or private offices. So yeah, it's essentially about the trade-off you are making right now.
Okay, so looks like we are almost at the end of the office hours. Before we finish up and before I stop recording, I would like to mention a few things. So the first thing is, now that we are getting back on schedule, in the future office hours, we will not have we'll not have learning modules within the office hours. They'll be dedicated completely to interactive conversations. So you'll have an opportunity to talk about lots of things. Maybe we can have themes as well for our next office hour. We are getting back on schedule, and I know we are still getting used to it. So keep in mind that tomorrow is the day when you are supposed to do peer reviews for the pairs, the PRs. And the day after tomorrow, we are supposed to review your PR. And on Saturday, we'll have the discussion. And we also have our first retro this Saturday, which is going to be really great. And we'll have your PRs merged and assign you new issues. And feel free to go to the document where the pairs are listed. Maybe you might want to have a chance to get to know your partner better, in which case you can connect with each other and talk to each other about different things. And sharing is caring. Share a lot. There are lots of things you're going to learn in the process. And definitely share what you learn in the TCL-60 channel so that others can also learn from it. And while sharing that, that reminds me, I gave you all an assessment, a remote collaborative work assessment to do, and that gave me a lot of insight about the 4 of you, and I'm better able to understand your needs now. which is why I would like to schedule one-on-ones with each of you in the coming days, maybe weeks, so that I can help you out with the situations that you're in. And yeah, finally, we'll see you again on Saturday. So good luck for your peer reviews, and we'll keep an eye out. If you have any questions, feel free to mention it in TCL-60, or if you want to share something that you learned, definitely share it in TCL-60. It's really great to learn from each other in this process. The recording for the office hours, just like any other meeting, will be available on the same playlist that I shared. So good luck. And yeah, I'll stop the recording now.